Chapter 11. The wind had long since carried away the screams. Only ash remained, soft as snow, scattered across the ruined stone circle. The fire was gone. So was the oracle. So were the others. The Briton boy crouched low in the underbrush, where the trees began again beyond the scorched earth. His knuckles were white around the dagger he gripped, though he hadn't used it. Wouldn't, couldn't, not against them. He had watched the Romans bind Marcus, had seen the bag pulled over his friend's head, had heard the Latin barked like commands to animals. Then the soldiers turned, dragging their captives behind them, vanishing into the forest with the sound of hooves and leather and chain. The boy had waited until they were well beyond sight, then followed. He did not weep. Not out loud. Instead, he stalked. For 3 days he moved through the wild like smoke, never too close, never too far. He lived on roots, berries, and the occasional squirrel snared by a loop of sinew. He drank from streams, slept under bramble, kept the wagon's ruts in sight by day, the campfire's glow by night. They never saw him, not once. He watched Marcus from the hills, slumped in the wagon, wrists bound, eyes half-lidded beneath bruises and dried blood. He saw the other captives too, huddled together like cattle, eyes hollowed out. The boy didn't know their names. He didn't need to. He understood what they were now. On the 4th day, the forest ended, the hills flattened, the road widened and turned to stone. And there in the distance, rising like a wound in the earth, was Rome. It gleamed beneath the morning haze, a city of spires and columns, marble and fire. Birds circled overhead in lazy spirals, dwarfed by the structures that clawed toward the sky. Smoke rose from 100 chimneys, flags snapped in the breeze. The air shimmered with heat and something else, iron. The boy's breath caught. He crouched in the tall grass, eyes wide as the slave caravan moved toward the gates. Soldiers barked commands, traders argued over coin, children played in filth beside golden statues. It was everything he'd never known, too loud, too vast, too cruelly alive. And Marcus was about to vanish into it. The boy touched the braided cord around his neck, the only thing left from his old life. Then, as a merchant caravan passed by, bound for the city markets, the boy rose, dusted the earth from his knees, and stepped into their midst like he belonged there. Eyes low, posture relaxed, not a word spoken. No one noticed the shadow trailing in their wake. He blended in and crossed the threshold into the heart of the empire. The streets of Rome swallowed him whole. Stone walls towered like cliffs on either side, casting long shadows over the twisting alleys and open squares. The Briton boy moved carefully within the flow of the crowd, staying behind carts, slipping between cloaked figures and wide baskets of figs. His bare feet padded over smooth marble. The scent of baked bread, manure, perfume, and rot swirled together in a chaotic fog that filled his nostrils and clung to his skin. He'd never seen so many people. Vendors shouted in strange tongues, drunks sang from balconies. A line of chained men was paraded down the main road, their backs scored by lashes. No one stopped to look. No one cared. The boy's eyes darted everywhere. At the massive golden eagle above a stone arch, the soldiers in crimson and bronze patrolling in pairs, the slaves pouring wine for their masters, backs hunched and eyes downcast. He passed a boy not much older than himself, sweeping the steps of a bathhouse with fingers missing. He'd never imagined anything like this. In the center of it all, a monument rose, a column etched with carvings that spiraled toward the heavens. Scenes of war, of conquest, of his people being crushed beneath Roman sandals. He averted his eyes and moved on. He didn't know exactly where Marcus was being taken, but he followed the stink of sweat, fear, livestock, and silver, the slave market. It sat in a wide plaza near the southern edge of the city, beneath a hill where wealthy villas perched like vultures. Tents lined the square, shaded by faded red canopies. On raised wooden platforms, men and women stood in silence, chains around their wrists or ankles. Buyers milled about below, fat fingers poking at teeth, inspecting muscles, checking for obedience. The boy kept to the edge, half hidden behind a stall selling dyed cloth. His eyes scanned each platform. Then, there, Marcus stood beneath one of the canopies, stripped to his tunic, a chain looped around his neck. His hair was longer now, matted and unwashed. A bruise darkened his cheek, but his eyes were open, his jaw clenched, still alive. 2 men approached the cellar. One barked a question. The other responded. The boy flinched at first. He couldn't understand them. But then the second man spoke again, and something clicked. He recognized the tongue. It was Marcus's. Not every word, but enough. The tone, the rhythm, the sound of power, Latin. That's what Marcus had been speaking in the village before the soldier attacked. That's what this place was built on. But even now, weaving through the crowd, the boy heard other languages, ones that cracked and hissed, others that sang. Rome was a city of tongues, but the sharpest one, the one that ruled, was Marcus's. A man in deep violet robes approached the cellar. He was old but strong, with a trimmed beard and a gaze that could cut stone. Rings glittered on his fingers. He asked no questions, simply nodded once. A bag of coin changed hands. A mark was placed on Marcus's wrist. The boy tensed. He wanted to move, to scream, to do something. But he couldn't. Not yet. He watched in silence as Marcus was led off the platform and down toward a black-wheeled carriage trimmed in gold. The senator's crest gleamed on its side. A serpent coiled around a torch. Then it rolled away, swallowed by the streets. The boy stood alone now, surrounded by noise and laughter and chains. Rome had taken Marcus. The sun dipped low, casting gold across the tiled roofs and marble statues. Rome, in all her splendor, glowed like a god. But the Briton boy didn't see glory. He saw traps. He moved with purpose now, but quietly, keeping to the narrow paths between buildings and markets, avoiding open plazas in the eyes of soldiers. He traced the senator's carriage by the winding marks its wheels left in the dust, following them through archways and shaded courtyards, deeper into the city's elite heart. The villas here were different. They didn't shout, they whispered wealth. Gated gardens spilled with flowers he didn't have names for. Water trickled from carved stone fountains. Slaves moved like ghosts, quick, quiet, and invisible. He reached the edge of an ivy-covered wall and crouched low. Beyond it, a grand estate stretched wide, columns of white stone, murals of lions and victories, and in the center courtyard, the senator's carriage being unloaded. Marcus was led by a chain like a prized animal. The boy didn't blink. He watched as two guards brought Marcus to a side chamber, disappearing through a thick wooden door. A servant followed with folded robes and a bowl of water. Then silence. The boy remained crouched behind the wall, heart steady, breath shallow. He didn't know what came next. He only knew that Marcus was alive. That was enough for now. He reached into his pouch and pulled out the small carved totem Aitha had once given him. The smooth bone, etched with spirals, he clenched it in his palm. He would wait, learn, listen. The wolves had taken his brother, but they hadn't seen the fox that slipped in behind them.